What would you do if you saw something wrong? Would you do something about it? Or would you pretend it wasn't there and say it wasn't my problem? My name is Osman Salih. They call me the Lion Man of Sudan. I got this name after doing something unexpected. I discovered a group of starving lions and I battled to save them. My story with lions started when I was 6 years old. I went on a safari trip to Kenya, and it was a long trip, it was a hard trip. We spent hours driving in a big open safari park, and it takes a long time to see all the animals in the wild. But it was all worth it in the end when we drove into an open plain in the savannah, and we saw a group, a pride of lions just basking in the sun. It's such an amazing sight. It's so magnificent, so majestic to see these lions in the wild. And I was hooked. I was hooked from then on. I went on so many safari trips, and I was addicted. And I fell in love with lions. Now, fast forward 30 years later, married with 2 beautiful children, working as a software engineer. And by chance, I visited a local park in Khartoum. I remember when I entered the park, I heard that they have some animals. And me being a big animal lover, I had to go and investigate. But I'll never forget, as soon as I went to where the animal enclosures were, I couldn't forget the smell. It was such a bad smell. And when I entered, the place was so dirty and so cramped. And my eyes fell upon a cage in the corner. And at first, I didn't know what I was looking at. Turned out I was looking at a group of lions just laying there to die. They were literally just skin on bones. It was such a disturbing sight for me. You know, a group of lions in the wild is full of pride. But there was no pride in this scene. It was just pain. There was nothing magnificent, nothing majestic. It was just so sad. And I was speechless for a while, and I had like tears building up in my eyes. I felt so sorry for them. So I immediately rushed out to where the guards were, and I had so many questions. Why aren't you feeding the lions? Why aren't you taking care of them? So on and so on. And I said, let's go get them some food. And they said, we don't have any food. I said, let's go buy some. They're like, we don't have any money. I said, I have some money. Let's go buy some food. They're like, we don't have a car. I said, I have a car. Let's go. They're like, but we don't have permission. You know, just excuse after excuse. I was convinced that nothing I could have said could have got these guys off their feet. So I moved away. I moved away from them. I was really annoyed. And I just stood there in the middle of this park, and I was just scanning everybody around me. And there was families, there were kids, everybody was running around, everybody was going about their day. Nobody was bothered. Nobody was bothered. There was a group of starving lions in the middle of this park. And that really upset me. And I was really questioning humanity and losing faith in people. So I went back to the cages, I got up close and I took some pictures, and I decided, you know, I'm going to post them online. Even though I didn't have that much influence or followers online, but I decided I was going to post these pictures anyway, just to show the world what was going on. But my plan ultimately was that I was going to go spend the whole night researching everything to do about lions, and I was going to come the next day with food, with medicine, and do the best I could. And I thought I was going to, do this thing on my own. So I took the pictures, I posted them on social media, and within a few hours, I couldn't believe it. The post went viral all over the internet. Everybody, heard and saw the pictures. And I was getting thousands of notifications. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. It was so overwhelming. I was, struggling to breathe at times because, there's too many notifications. I had to switch it off. So the next day, when I went to the park, there was a media frenzy. There were so many camera crews, so many people, and I rushed to a meeting room where all the government officials had come, and the park officials were there. And as soon as I walked into the meeting room, everybody just pointed their fingers at me, and they're like, "That's him. That's the guy that started all this trouble." I was taken aback, of course, But the meeting went on that tone. You know, they were blaming me for posting the pictures, blaming me for making a big deal. I tried to give them suggestions. I even suggested I run the park for them. And they laughed. They laughed in my face. They said I couldn't possibly take care of the park or take care of these animals. And they just closed the subject that, you know, these lions are sick and there's nothing that can be done about them, and so just forget about the issue and move on. So obviously I left the meeting room quite upset, and I was faced with two choices. Either I forget about this issue, it wasn't my problem. I move on with my life, or I make it my problem. And I battled to save these lions. I decided to do the latter, which was to fight for these lions, because in those cages they were voiceless, they had no voice. I wanted to be their voice for them and do the best I could to rescue them. So, when I went to where the cages were, I found a group of concerned vets, and they gave me a list of medicines and food that I could get so they could get started in the whole rescue mission. And I rushed to the market, I bought everything, and we worked all night. I remember we started with one of the lionesses, her name was Eswert, and we battled all night to rescue her. I thought she would be okay, but sadly the next morning, one of the lions died, that lioness, and that was a real awakening for me. I was really sad about what happened, and you know, reality hit me that, you know, this was not going to be an easy task. And you know, these lions and these animals in my hand was going to be a very big responsibility. But I didn't want to give up. I really wanted to fight to rescue as many of the lions and the other animals in the park. In all the messages, I was getting a lot of messages, but something was reoccurring that people were saying that to get these international animal welfare organizations involved. So I did some research and made some contacts, and I picked the best one, and within a few days, they were on the ground with us, and they helped us immensely with the rescue mission. They really knew what they were doing. They even trained me and the group of volunteers that started working with me, and they were a huge help for us. And we managed to rescue the rest of the lions in that park and the other animals. After these organizations left, we were still taking care of the animals in the park. We were going daily, you know, to pick the animals, to clean the cages and take care of them. And sometimes we even had to break into the park on weekends or holidays to take care of the animals. So it was quite a big responsibility. And then things got even more difficult when the whole country went into lockdown. In fact, you know, the whole world went into lockdown with the whole corona pandemic and a lot of instability that was going on. So it made our work a lot more difficult. So we decided that that park wasn't good enough for these lions and these animals. We wanted to build a new place, bigger space, and you know, better enclosures for the animals. So we started searching all over Khartoum for a suitable place, and it was a difficult task because at the time we didn't have a budget. We didn't have money to buy land or to develop land and so on. So I remember in a casual conversation with my uncle, I told him about the problem we had, and he immediately offered 10 acres from the family farm for the project. This is my It was huge for us because we finally had a base, we finally had a place that we could develop the best standards for these lions and for the other animals. And I had a very special relationship with my uncle. You know, besides him offering us his land for the project, we would chat every day about the project. We would spend hours on the phone just going through what we did, what needs to be done. And he was such a big support and back home for me. And I remember even when he fell sick, he would still call me every day until he went into hospital. Until the point where he couldn't even talk back to me. He would still be talking and conversation over speakerphone. Sadly, my uncle passed away to corona, and that was a huge blow to us. It was devastating to me, to the family, and it was really hard to continue. But we had to push on. You know, we wanted this project to be a legacy for him and for us. And we wanted to keep our promise to the animals and to everybody that was working with us. So we pushed on in such difficult circumstances, economic problems, political problems, medical problems. It was a very hard journey. But I had an amazing group of volunteers with me. It wasn't a one-man show. I had a big group of dedicated volunteers that were working with me day and night. It was such a laborious task. We were working with our bare hands. It was blood, sweat, and tears that we put into the project. And the project became a success in the end. And from a group of 5 lions, we now have a pride of 20 lions. We now have over 30 different species of animals at our park and about 300 different animals. I was awarded the United Nations Environmentalist of the Year 2021. And this is my wife. My wife was a huge supporter to me. I sacrificed a lot of my time, my family's time for the project, and she was a huge help to me, every day. We even rescued a lot of cubs from different parks. We rescued lions from 5 different parks from around Sudan. 2 of these cubs we raised from 1 month old, and now they're over 2 years old. This is the video of the park now. I wasn't the first person to see these animals suffering, but I was the first person that took action. And through taking action, I found support and I made the project a success. I hope each and every one of you can find the life inside of them that will give them the strength to fulfill and overcome the obstacles and to succeed.